It is now time for oral questions. I recognize the Leader of His Majesty's Loyal Opposition.
Well, good morning, Speaker. This question is for the Premier. The more we learn about the government's Ontario Place scheme, the worse it gets. Preferential treatment, no oversight, skyrocketing costs, and a minister who has shown zero accountability to the people that she is supposed to serve. Speaker, this scheme is set to cost the equivalent of $400 for every household in Ontario. Why should families from Thunder Bay to Windsor be forced to subsidize this Premier's vanity project in downtown Toronto?
And to reply for the government, Minister of Infrastructure.
Much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I've said this in the House before. Legislators have been contemplating what to do with Ontario Place since before I was born. It is this Premier and this government that is finally taking action and bringing Ontario Place back to life. Mr. Speaker, Ontario Place is under construction today. The investment and construction that is undergoing, these are Michael Lindsay's words. These categories of investment have always been the sorts of things that the Government of Ontario would need to invest in order to rehabilitate and bring Ontario Place back to life, regardless of what proposals ultimately prospered through the call for development process. Mr. Speaker, even if we wanted to make Ontario Place a public park, these construction costs incurred today would have to happen,
Response.
Mr. Speaker. And again, these are not my words. These are the words of Michael Lindsay, CEO of Infrastructure Ontario.
Supplementary question.
Talk about out of touch, right? The Premier's Ontario Place scheme is going to cost every household in this province $400. That's tax money. That's not your money. That is money that Ontarians have invested to go to health care, to go to housing, to go to schools. And where is it going to go? To Austria, to build some millionaire's mansion, no doubt. And what is the return on investment? The return on investment by the government's own assessment shows that we're only going to collect $1.63 million in rent from the 100-year lease with Therma. So enough is enough. When will the Premier start to show some true accountability for this mess and start by firing his infrastructure minister?
Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Where it's very clear the position that the NDP is taking on this matter. In fact, what they are saying is that they would do nothing because they have admitted that they do not understand the fact that even if you were to make Ontario Place a public park, site servicing, gas, water access, telecommunications access, all of that, shoreline repairs, Mr. Speaker, all of that is necessary in order to make sure that people can go to Ontario Place. So it's very good to the Leader of the Opposition. It's good. You will do nothing. As you will do nothing on schools and health care and subway expansion. That is your legacy. That is your message to Ontarians.
Okay. Once again, stop the clock. Quiet. Once again, I'll remind the members to make their comments through the chair. Start the clock. The final supplementary.
Working people in Ontario are just trying to find a home, to find a doctor, to make ends meet. The Premier has been singularly obsessed with this personal vanity project, a luxury spa that no one asked for on Toronto's waterfront. He's not thinking about the families with the fewer gifts under their trees, right? Or the parents who are working extra hours over the holidays. He's thinking of himself and Conservative insiders who are more than okay, apparently, to make an extra buck through backroom deals and preferential treatment. And that is the story of this spa project. He's patting himself on the back for giving people $200 just to take $400 back from them for a broke Austrian spa company. Now, my question to the Premier is, don't Ontarians deserve better than this? My goodness.
Members will please take their seats. Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. While it's very clear what the members of the NDP aren't doing, and they're not reading the Auditor General's report. Mr. Speaker, I have been in the House for 6.5 years, and throughout this time frame, the NDP have been preaching, don't redevelop Ontario Place, make it a public park. 50 acres of public realm space is included in our redevelopment plans, but let me read. Let me read contents from the AG report on page 21 in case you have the time to take a look. The majority of the increase is related to the additional costs of adding the public realm park space. She references this as parks, paths, beaches, piers, facilities, landscaping, etc. So it's very nice that the NDP are finally clear about their position for Ontario Place. Do nothing, and certainly don't build public realm space.
Good job. Again, I'll remind the members to make their comments through the chair. The next question, once again, the Leader of the Opposition.
Tell you what we wouldn't be doing, Speaker, we wouldn't be spending $2.2 billion subsidizing a luxury spa in downtown Toronto.
Order.
Speaker, the concerns with building infrastructure in the province do not stop with the Ontario Place mess. The Auditor General revealed that Infrastructure Ontario's P3, that's public-private partnerships contracts, are just not working. The government isn't even getting multiple bids on most projects. In fact, many times they're only getting one bid, and as we know with the Therma project, they had to go out and seek out that one favorite bidder, that preferred bidder, and costs are skyrocketing as a result. The estimated cost of the new Mississauga Hospital P3 contract are now $4 billion higher than what was budgeted. How can the Premier still have confidence in his Minister of Infrastructure with her reckless spending?
Government side, come to order. Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Well, it's very clear that the NDP didn't read anything included in the AG report, but I'm happy to reference her words. Said, I would say Ontario is the most mature in P3 modelling compared to other provinces. I give Infrastructure Ontario and the Ontario government credit for the fact that they are evolving it. I do know that globally this is an issue, getting construction companies through to bid on big, huge infrastructure projects. Mr. Speaker, let me repeat it again. The AG said, I would say Ontario is the most mature in P3 modelling compared to other provinces.
The supplementary question.
Just because they lose the most money on those projects. But look, the Vaughan Hospital opened just 3 years ago, and it had a contract valued at $1.3 billion at the time. But here we have the estimated cost of the new Mississauga Hospital P3 contract, now estimated at over $16 billion. Wow. That is unheard of, right? On a square foot basis, the estimated cost of the Mississauga Hospital P3 contract is now more than 5 times what it was for the Vaughan Hospital. So does the Premier think that it is acceptable that hospital construction costs under Infrastructure Ontario and under his watch have gone up 5-fold in just 3 years?
The Minister of Infrastructure.
Very much. Again, that is not what the AG said in her report, and I would encourage the members of the NDP to actually sit down and read the report page for page. But, Mr. Speaker, we are building the Mississauga Trillium Hospital. We are building a hospital in Ottawa, Ottawa Civic. We are building Waha. We are expanding the hospital on the Queensway. Why? Because we made a commitment to the hard-working people of this province to build that infrastructure that they need and that they rely on every single day. But it's okay, Mr. Speaker. The NDP have made it very clear where they stand. Do nothing and build nothing. That is not acceptable for the hardworking people of Ontario.
The final supplementary.
Here's the thing, Speaker. With this government, ballooning costs are not the exception, they are the rule, right? The University of Toronto reported just last week that the cost of building subways under this government, and by the way, all of those lines that never open, is now 10 times what other jurisdictions are paying. 10 times. And what's really galling is that that money isn't going to the people that build the transit or build the hospitals. It's going to the private consultants that are layering on the costs, and it is Ontarians that are footing the bill. This government is out of control with reckless spending and disrespect for the taxpayer dollar. So my question to the Premier is, why is this Premier leaving Ontarians waiting for critical projects while this minister's friends and insiders and consultants get to profit?
Members will please take their seats. Minister of Infrastructure.
Well, thank you very much. And I'm very happy that she mentioned what we're doing in terms of expanding transit in the province of Ontario. Eglinton Crosstown West tunneling completed, Mr. Speaker. The launch shaft for the Ontario line is under construction, Mr. Speaker. That's where the tunneling boring machines will enter the ground to construct the 15-kilometer line. Mr. Speaker, tunneling is underway out in Scarborough. The people of Scarborough will finally have a subway line, and the Young North line is in procurement today. But it's okay. The leader of the official opposition can keep talking, because what she's saying today to the people of Ontario is that she would build nothing.
Order. The next question, the member for Waterloo.
Very much, Speaker, and also my questions to the Premier. Not long before Thermae signed the lease for Ontario Place, Infrastructure Ontario flagged that Thermae recently had only €1 million in the bank, and they had more money going out than they had coming in. This is from Infrastructure Ontario. This raises serious concerns that Thermae won't be able to afford to finish the spa, much less operate it for 95 years. Will the government stop this deal now, save every household in this province $400, or do we need to wait for Thermae to go bankrupt with a half-built spa on our hands?
Members will please take their seats. Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Again, I am referencing a page from the Auditor General's report, page 77. The lease between the province of Ontario and Thermae includes a financial test. The lease required Thermae Group to have a net worth of $100 million. An examination by IO of Thermae Group's 2020 audited financial statement shows that Thermae has met this financial test per the lease requirements. On October 3rd, Mr. Speaker, IO made the lease public. Mr. Speaker, we're very proud to be in partnership with Thermae. We're very proud to be in partnership with Live Nation, and we're very proud to bring a brand new science centre to Ontario Place. Why? Because now, once the construction is completed, families will finally have an Ontario Place that they can enjoy every single day, 365 days of the year.
Supplementary question.
The Auditor General also said that the Ontario Place deal was mismanaged and driven by an opaque process with preferential treatment. Those are the Auditor General's words. And this government keeps repeating this bizarre claim that Ontario Place was derelict. But in June 2023, their own financials showed it was very popular and it was very profitable. There is no sound business case for demolishing a valuable public asset at a cost of $2.2 billion just to increase the profits of a foreign European spa company. And Speaker, Ontario Place was public. It was profitable. It was working. Why should Ontarians spend $400 per household for the Premier to bulldoze it and to privatize it? A shame on you, and you should resign.
I say to the member for Waterloo, I have no intentions of resigning, and would ask her to make her comments through the chair. Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will reference page 12 of the AG's report. Throughout the 1970s, Ontario Place attracted approximately 3 million annual visitors. By 1989, that number had fallen to 2.1 million and then down to 1,205,000, and we know, Mr. Speaker, that attendance has dropped since then. Mr. Speaker, I'm using the words of Michael Lindsay. Through the AG's own submission, the call for development was not meant to be a structured procurement. It was meant to be a real estate solicitation to take ideas from across the globe. We did so, creating a process that was competitive, that had nonpartisan evaluation. Mr. Speaker.
Order.
Ontario Place is finally under construction. Mr. Speaker, our subway transit plan from
Opposition come to order. Minister,
is under construction.
Respond.
Mr. Speaker, hospitals are under construction across the province of Ontario. Why? Because it is this government that will build the services and the infrastructure that the people need and depend on.
Thank you. Stop the clock. Members will please take their seats. Start the clock. The next question, the member from Milton.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Transportation. Families across Ontario depend on safe and efficient highway network to get home, work, and to school. Businesses across Ontario depend on a reliable transportation network to get their goods moving and to keep our economy strong. For too long, people experienced delays, red tape, and inaction under the previous Liberal government that have left the community stuck in gridlock, including my riding of Milton. Ontarians have rejected the do-nothing approach. But under our government's leadership, Ontario is building for the future again. We're making the necessary investment to help our province moving, supporting economic growth, and improving the quality of life for everyone. Speaker, can the minister please explain how our government is delivering the highways and transportation infrastructure Ontario's families and businesses need?
The parliamentary assistant member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington.
Thank you very much, Speaker. And my thanks to the member from Milton for the question. I certainly appreciate your continued advocacy for the new infrastructure all across Ontario. Speaker, our government is taking action to build highways. We need to move people and goods across this province. Unlike the previous Liberal government, who said no to building, we're moving forward with the Bradford Bypass and Highway 413. Through the Building Highways Faster Act, we've streamlined the processes and eliminated unnecessary red tape. These measures mean shovels in the ground faster and highways completed sooner. Speaker, our government understands that investing in infrastructure is about supporting families, businesses, and all of our economic growth. Speaker, we are building Ontario's future. Thank you.
Thank you. Supplementary question. Back to the member from Milton.
Speaker, building highways and improving infrastructure is more than just asphalt and concrete. It's about leadership and action. It's about making decisions that put families first. It's about making decisions that put workers first and businesses first. For years, under the previous Liberal government, people in my community saw projects delayed and promises broken. That is why it is encouraging to see strong leadership shown by the Premier and our government. Our government is delivering for the people of Ontario by building new highways like the 413 and the Bradford Bypass. Ontario's future depends on the bold actions we're taking today to build the infrastructure we need for tomorrow. Speaker, can the minister please share how our government is showing leadership and delivering real results for the people of Ontario through our highway projects?
Assistant member for Hastings, Lennox and Addington.
Thank you again, Speaker, and thank you again to the member from Milton. Speaker, honestly, the Building Highway Faster Act is a game changer. We've introduced 24-hour construction and are working closely with all of our municipalities to accelerate project timelines. This approach is already being applied to the Gardiner's Expressway, which is 4 months ahead of schedule. It's rather simple. By reducing red tape, we're cutting years off project timelines. Speaker, these measures mean more time at home for families, lower costs for businesses, and improved movement of goods all across the province. Ontarians know that they can count on us to deliver real results for critical transit infrastructure projects all across the province. Thank you very much, Speaker, and thank you.
Thank you very much. The next question, the member for Nickel Belt.
Thank you, Speaker. My question for the Premier. Speaker, this government spent over $100 million of taxpayers' money on advertising to try to convince us that things have never been better in Ontario. Meanwhile, 2024 was the worst year on record for ER closure, and 2.5 million Ontarians do not have a family physician. More than half of the presenters to the Finance Committee have been healthcare, because they cannot recruit and retain, not even in downtown Toronto. Ask Tattle Creek Family Health Teams from Toronto. They were in the media studio earlier this morning. Can the Premier explain how $100 million of partisan advertising was a better investment than the same amount in healthcare?
The Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Health and member for Essex.
Speaker, we have to always remember that the Liberals starved the health care budget, but in contrast to the Liberal record, this government is investing a record amount of money in the public health care system. In 2018, the health care budget was $60 billion. Today, it stands at $85 billion for a $25 billion increase. Wow. In addition to that, Speaker, this summer, 99% of all hospital emergency departments were absolutely uninterrupted. Mr. Speaker, this government continues investing in the public health care system, including $44 million to reduce emergency room wait times and a $10 million fund to assist nurses in upskilling their skills in emergency department procedures so that our emergency departments can continue delivering excellent care. Let's praise our nurses in the province of Ontario and especially our ED nurses for their remarkable abilities. Thank you.
Supplementary question.
Thank you, Speaker. Last week, Addiction and Mental Health Ontario, Alliance for Healthier Community, Associations of Family Health Team, Indigenous Primary Healthcare Team, Nurse Practitioner-led Clinic, and 7 more organizations came to Queen's Park to tell the government that our healthcare system is in crisis. What we heard from them stand in stark contrast to what the government ads wants us to believe. But the government can't fool the public about healthcare. People know that they can't access an emergency room when it is closed. They know that they can't find a family doctor. They know that they can't get mental health services for their child when he or she needs it. They are waiting months and sometimes years for surgery, even for diagnostic imaging, MRIs. Does the government think that $100 million is better spent on advertising or on getting people the health care they desperately need?
Thank you. Members should please take their seats. Member for Essex.
Speaker, the government remains focused on delivering patient-centred and team-based care in the province of Ontario. As we all know, according to CIHI, which is the Canadian Institute for Health Information, Ontario leads the country in connecting people to primary care, with approximately 90% of all residents connected to primary care. One of the ways we are doing this, Mr. Speaker, is getting internationally trained doctors into the system. I'm happy to report, Mr. Speaker, that an additional 4 internationally trained family doctors set up practice or will be setting up practice in Sudbury, and that means that an additional 4,800 people will now have access to primary care, a family care position right in the city of Sudbury. We're talking about the Practice Ready Ontario program, which assists international doctors in getting their accreditation in the province of Ontario. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. The next question, the member for Eglinton Lawrence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question is for the Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development. Firefighters, including the MPP from Brantford-Brant, are some of the bravest people in our communities. They face danger head-on when people are in harm's way. They protect our families, our homes, and our businesses, often at great personal risk. But for years, many firefighters felt unsupported and unheard. They face barriers to accessing benefits and protections that they deserve, and Ontarians know that this is not right. Speaker, our government has committed to standing with those frontline heroes. We're taking action to ensure firefighters have the support they need to stay healthy and safe. Speaker, can the minister please share how the government is showing leadership in protecting and supporting Ontario's firefighters.
Parliamentary Assistant Minister for Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development, and the member for Ajax.
Thank you. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you to the member from Eglinton Lawrence for that question and for the amazing work you do for your community. Firefighters are our frontline heroes. I've enjoyed working closely with Chief Burbridge and Deputy Chief Kimball and Pankhurst in Ajax, and I thank them and their team for the amazing work they do every day keeping us safe. Our government continues to improve their health and protections and access to benefits. First, we're reducing duration of employment required for presumptive WSIB coverage for primary site kidney cancer from 20 years to just 10 years, the lowest threshold in Canada. This ensures faster access to compensation and support for those who need it. Second, we're removing the age restriction on WSIB coverage from primary site colorectal cancer, ensuring that firefighters and fire investigators diagnosed after the age of 61 are also eligible for support. These changes include wildland firefighters and investigators, reflecting the unique risks they face on the job.
Response?
Through these potential reforms, we're improving access to WSIB benefits for all firefighters and fire investigators, so we can focus.
Thank you. Supplementary question.
Speaker, every worker in Ontario deserves to feel safe and protected on the job. Families count on knowing that their loved ones will come home at the end of the day. But for too long, gaps in workplace protections have left workers vulnerable. Many sectors have faced challenges like inadequate safety equipment, limited job-protected leave, and weak enforcement of safety standards. Speaker, our government is taking action to change that. We're showing leadership by advancing worker health and safety measures that prioritize fairness, accountability, and protection for everyone on the job. Speaker, can the minister please share how the government is improving worker health and safety and setting new standards to protect Ontario's workforce?
Member for Ajax.
Thank you to the member for your follow-up question. Our government is working hard to ensure all workers in Ontario have the protections they deserve, with new initiatives designed to strengthen health, safety and fairness in workplaces across Ontario. We're especially proud of introducing 16-week job-protected leave for adoptive and surrogate parents, ensuring they have the time to bond with their children while aligning with federal EI adoption benefit changes. We're also creating a 27-week-long illness leave for workers facing serious medical conditions, which matches also again with the federal EI sickness benefits. We're prioritizing proper fit in PPE. We're also cracking down on corporate negligence by implementing a minimum fine for repeat offenders under the Occupational Health and Safety Act when their violations result in the death or serious injury. Finally, we are expanding the slow down and move over law to apply to all related vehicles with flashing lights, not just emergency vehicles, to protect workers at work roadside.
Thank you very much. The next question, the member for Toronto Centre.
Thank you, Speaker. To the Premier. The Auditor General's report shows that under this government, the Ontario Immigrant Nominee Program simply isn't working. This program should be matching highly skilled newcomers to Ontario employers who desperately need them. These workers could fill gaps in the sectors such as healthcare and housing construction. But the AG found that the ministry doesn't track outcomes and the applicants face huge delays. I heard from Tarek, a skilled trades worker, a welder who could be building homes today, but he's stuck waiting months to hear back from the government. The Premier, how proud are you of the fact that Tarek and his employers who want to hire him are now waiting months when he could be growing our economy today?
Assistant Minister of Labour, Immigration, Training and Skills Development, member for Ajax.
Thank you. I want to thank the member for your question because that is a very valid question, and that is why we have been advocating with our federal government, who has broken an immigration system that has been in place and revered across the world for many years. They've mismanaged and been negligent in how they deliver this amazing service that we've had. We're now taking action to combat immigration scams and bad actors through the ONIP. Our Working for Workers bill proposed legislation to crack down on fraudulent immigration representatives who exploit our newcomers. We're proposing to introduce tougher penalties, to increase fines, multi-year bans, and lifetime bans for violations under the Act for those who misrepresent and counsel others to deceive the Ontario Immigration Nominee Program. We believe that we have one of the best programs, and we agree that we need workers to work in Ontario.
The supplementary question.
Thank you, Speaker. The truth of the matter is that this isn't a federal problem, it's an Ontario problem. This government isn't ensuring occupations with the largest vacancies are getting applicants. I see this government is ignoring the AG's report, which found that this program simply isn't working. My constituent, Mohammed, is a skilled trades worker who has waited over 260 days to hear back from the nominee program. He's stuck behind other people who are also without job offers because this government simply isn't prioritizing the people they should be. Will the Premier fix this problem and ensure people who can work in critical industries are prioritized first?
Member for Ajax.
Thank you. We know that welcoming skilled trade workers to Ontario is essential to solving our province's ongoing labour shortage. Despite more than 200,000 jobs going unfilled every day in Ontario, only 1 in 4 immigrants are working in the field that they're trained in, and that is an injustice. We are leading the country by recognizing foreign credentials, banning Canadian work experience requirements, and streamlining language testing and mandating processing time. We need to continue to focus on our immigration system and addressing labour shortages. Immigration is a federal issue. We have streamlined the skilled trades and health care that is needed in Ontario, and we will continue to do so.
Thank you very much. The next question, the member for Don Valley East.
Mr. Speaker, for the Premier. Last week, the Auditor General revealed that this government spent $103.5 million on ads, most of which were designed to promote the governing party. That's the most expensive pat on the back our province has ever seen. I'd like to remind the Premier, Mr. Speaker, that the next time he gets the bright idea to spend $103.5 million on self-promotional ads, he can come to me instead, because I'll do it for free. Here's a sample of my work. Imagine a place where tens of thousands of people don't have a family doctor. Imagine a place where 5 local emergency departments closed just this weekend. Now stop imagining. If you live in Huron-Bruce, Bruce Grey Owen Sound, or Perth Wellington, you already live there. This weekend, tens of thousands of people in rural Ontario had no family doctor and no emergency department. Mr. Speaker, why does this Premier refuse to acknowledge that his mismanagement has caused entire regions of our province to become healthcare dead zones?
Government side, come to order. Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Health and member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, we must always remember the Liberal Premier Kathleen Wynne stated that they were holding health care costs down. In contrast, Mr. Speaker, this government is investing in the public health care system. For example, right in the riding of Don Valley East, 1,650 individuals can benefit from this government's investments in the expansion of the primary health care system through the Flemington Health Centre Community Health Clinic.
Order.
In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, when the Liberals reduced the number of doctors being trained in Ontario, we increased the number of doctors being trained in Ontario. And in fact, an additional number of doctors will be trained at the new medical facilities, the new medical training facilities in Vaughan, in Scarborough, and across the province of Ontario. Where the Liberals failed, we will succeed.
The member for Don Valley East will come to order. Then he can place his supplementary question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. You know, this government loves to talk about the investments it's made, but regular people don't see any results. It's become clear that this government has a value for money problem. The only people getting value for money are the Premier's friends. The Ontario Place redevelopment. The Premier said it would cost $400 million. Now the cost is up to $2.2 billion. recklessly moving the science centre, which I disagree with, was supposed to cost $1 billion, and now the cost is up to $1.5 billion.
Order.
A struggling Austrian spa company managed to get hundreds of millions of dollars out of this premier to build a parking garage. And all a ministerial zoning order will cost you is a stroke of the premier's ego. Meanwhile, Ontarians live in a state of healthcare anxiety. According to the ministry's own data, not Kai-Hai, here are the facts.
Question.
Millions of people don't have a family doctor. Millions more are at risk of losing theirs. So why does the Premier spend billions of dollars for his friends when the people of Ontario would love nothing more than to see that money spent on health care?
Member for Etobicoke Lakeshore will come to order. Minister of Finance.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Speaker, let's imagine an Ontario where 300,000 jobs left the province, Mr. Speaker. Imagine an Ontario where taxes went up and fees went up, Mr. Speaker. Imagine an Ontario where the credit ratings were downgraded repeatedly, time after time. Wait a sec, Mr. Speaker. You don't have to imagine it. That was the reality under the previous Liberal government. You don't have to use any imagination.
Stop the clock. Okay. Member for Ottawa South come to order. Member for Orleans come to order. The member for Perth Wellington come to order. The member for Hamilton West Ancaster Dundas will come to order. Start the clock. Minister of Finance, I think, has a few more seconds.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I know the truth hurts, Mr. Speaker. But imagine an Ontario where 850,000 jobs were created since we took power in 2018. Imagine an Ontario where taxes went down and fees went down. Imagine an Ontario where 2 credit rating upgrades, reducing borrowing costs, Mr. Speaker. You don't have to imagine. That's the Ontario that exists today.
The next question, the member for Whitby.
Thank you, Speaker. My question is to the Minister of Mines. Ontario's mining sector is a cornerstone of our economy. It supports thousands of jobs, drives innovation, and provides essential materials for industries across the globe. Critical minerals, metals like nickel, copper, and gold are in high demand for use in everything from electronics to electric vehicles. These resources are key to building a cleaner, more sustainable future. Ontario has an opportunity to lead the way by using innovative technologies to access resources that were once thought to be out of reach. Our government's leadership will ensure we remain a global player while protecting our environment and creating jobs here at home. Speaker, can the minister please share with this House how our government is driving innovation in Ontario's mining industry?
To reply, the Minister of Mines.
Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the member from Whitby for this question. Last year we passed the Building More Mines Act. Earlier this year we passed the regulations associated with it. And now through the Recovery of Minerals regulation, our government is introducing the first in Canada regulatory change that will create jobs, foster innovations, and promote sustainable mining practices while maintaining the highest health, safety, and environmental standards. We have, as you know, rare earths discovered just west of Otter Rapids. But the possibility of recovering these rare earths are probably going to be happened first by reprocessing the slag damps in Sudbury. That's why this regulation is so important. With potentially hundreds of sites that contain copper, nickel, gold, and more, we are enabling and encouraging the industry to use new innovative technologies to access previously non-viable sources of minerals and metals. Speaker, we can meet the global demand for Ontario resources and doing it through sustainable innovation.
Thank you. The supplementary question.
Speaker, Ontario has a proud history of being a leader in mining and resource development. Our province is blessed with vast natural resources, skilled workers, and innovative businesses that have positioned us as a global player in the critical minerals sector. Today, the demand for critical minerals like lithium, nickel, and graphite is skyrocketing. These minerals are essential for producing batteries, electric vehicles, and other technologies that support and strengthen Ontario and U.S. manufacturing. At the same time, securing a stable and sustainable supply of these resources has become a top priority for global security. The U.S. and other allies are looking to Ontario as a trusted partner to help meet this challenge. Speaker, can the minister please explain how Ontario is showing leadership in advancing critical mineral development to support U.S. manufacturing and shared security needs? Thank you.
Minister of Mines.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And again, thank you to the member from Whitby for this question. Speaker, Ontario is already a global leader in the mining and refining of gold, nickel, copper, and cobalt. Our province is also home for several promising lithium and graphite development projects, among other critical mineral initiatives. We have the ability to expand our production by looking at alternative, responsibly sourced resources. We need to be enabling our innovative mining industry to do so. By providing this new regulatory framework for the recovery of minerals from the mine waste, we can increase our output and support more of our allies when it comes to the minerals we all depend on. Speaker, Ontario is already a major metals and critical mineral trading partner for the U.S. Last year alone, total two-way trade in mined, milled, and smelt and/or refined critical minerals between Ontario and the U.S. was an astonishing $4.4 billion. We have what the world needs right here at home, and by identifying new sources of minerals, we can continue to be a reliable supplier for all our trading partners, including and especially the U.S.
Thank you very much. The next question, the member for Niagara Centre.
Thank you, Speaker. Through you to the Premier. Port Coburn's Urgent Care Centre has been operating with reduced hours since July 5th, 2023. Niagara Health has now announced it will be closed permanently and want to sell the Port Coburn Hospital property, which was paid for by local workers and dedicated to the Port Coburn veterans of World War II. At the same time, this Premier's focus is on a vanity project at Ontario Place that will cost each household in the province $400. Through you, Speaker, why is a family in Port Coburn who could be losing their urgent care centre expected to pay $400 to build a luxury spa in downtown Toronto?
To reply, the member for Essex.
Speaker, this government continues to invest and expand in approximately 50 hospital projects across the province of Ontario. Let me give you a little bit of information about the Niagara Health expansion. This is the South Niagara site. It started in July of this year, and this is its first year of construction. This hospital is expected to be 1.3 million square feet. Its planned opening is for the year 2028, and it will be at the corner of Montrose and Bigger Roads. Of course, that's only one example of the many, many hospital projects that are new projects and redevelopment projects that are occurring across the province of Ontario, because this government is investing in hospitals and in the hospital system, not only in the north, but in the south. We are expanding our hospital care across the province of Ontario through a multi-billion-dollar, multi-year expansion, because we believe in public health care. Thank you, Doug.
Thank you. And the supplementary question.
Thank you, Speaker. That's the wrong city, wrong hospital. The Welland Hospital has been without after-hours emergency surgical services since February 27th, 2023. The people of Welland need a full service hospital to replace their aging facility, but Niagara Health requires a planning grant to get that process underway. This minister has refused to respond to our request for a planning grant or to calls from the community to restore their emergency surgical services. Speaker, through you to the Premier, why should a family in Welland pay $400 for a luxury spa in downtown Toronto while emergency services are being removed from their aging local hospital?
Member for Essex.
Mr. Speaker, we continue to invest in emergency care across the province of Ontario. We have a $44 million fund that is helping reducing emergency wait times across the province of Ontario. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, a $10 million fund that's paying for 1,000 nurses to upskill their emergency department skills. Across the province of Ontario, we support emergency care, and that includes the emergency care that we provide to various ambulance services. The province of Ontario provides 50% of the funding for emergency ambulance services across Ontario, and then on top of that, we provide additional funding for special services, including mobile units, which are designed to assist communities in keeping people out of the emergency department. Mr. Speaker, we're committed to continuing these services, which include services and financial support to ambulance services and emergency departments, because we believe in the public health care system. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, the member for Guelph.
Good morning, Speaker. My question is for the Premier. 93% of the deeply affordable homes built in the province of Ontario were built before 1995. There is no city or town in Ontario where a full-time minimum wage worker can afford average monthly rent. In Toronto alone, 92,965 people are on a wait list for housing. The wait time, 14 years. Your government's failure to build affordable homes has resulted in nearly 250,000 people in this province experiencing homelessness. The number has doubled in Waterloo Region just in the last 3 years. But instead of fixing the problem, the Premier wants to take away people's charter rights. So, Speaker, if the Premier outlaws encampments, can he tell us where people are supposed to go if there are no affordable homes for them to go to?
To reply, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'll tell you what, the Progressive Conservatives, you know what we believe in? We believe that parks are for kids. We believe that parks are where people go to have fun, where parents bring their children, where grandparents bring their grandchildren. We believe our downtowns are centres where our small businesses can prosper, Mr. Speaker. Our downtowns are where people get together, they celebrate, Mr. Speaker, and on occasion sometimes we commemorate. That's what we believe our parks and our downtowns are for, Mr. Speaker, and we're going to double down to ensure that we can give our parks and our downtowns back to the people of the province of Ontario. Mr. Speaker, we will not stop in order to get that done. But at the same time, we're going to continue to provide the resources that are needed so that we can get more affordable homes built across the province of Ontario. We invest over $1.2 billion over $1.2 billion in the homelessness prevention program, Mr. Speaker. And with that, I am expecting results. And if our service managers can't deliver the results that the people of the province of Ontario expect, we'll take further actions to make sure that we deliver results.
Supplementary question.
Let me be clear, Speaker. I understand and I hear people's frustrations about encampments. I, too, am angry that the Premier has failed to address the housing affordability crisis over the last 6 long years. Under this Premier's watch, rent is at an all-time high. Under this Premier's watch, the average cost of a house is up 50% in just 6 years with no end in sight. And yet, housing starts are down. Affordable and supportive housing not being built. The Premier says no to legalizing multiplexes and missing middle housing. The Premier says no to Scotiabank's recommendations that the government build 250,000 government-assisted nonprofit and co-op housings. So, Speaker, through you to the Minister, why does the Premier say no to building homes when he holds the key to unlocking affordable homes in the province of Ontario?
Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing.
Speaker, it's clear to me that the leader of the Green Party has literally no idea what is happening in the province of Ontario. Let me be very clear, Mr. Speaker. The opposition, Liberal and NDP, and obviously the Green, believe that parks are places where people with mental health and addictions should be. You know what I think, Mr. Speaker? Parks are where kids should be having fun, where parents should bring their kids to have fun, Mr. Speaker. That's what a park is for. People with mental health and addictions, they need help. That is why we're bringing in heart hubs. That is why the Minister of Mental Health and Addiction has opened up more beds than at any other time in the province's history, Mr. Speaker. Now, on Thursday, I will be presenting a bill in cooperation with the Attorney General and the Solicitor General, Mr. Speaker. We will have additional resources for our police forces and communities to deal with encampments. But let me be clear. In advance of passing that bill, we will provide, again, additional resources to provide assistance and help for people suffering on mental health and addictions in encampments, in parks and in communities across the province. And if the service managers of this province are unable to deliver the results that I expect, that we expect, then we will take different actions to ensure that we give parks and downtowns back to the hardworking people of the province of Ontario.
Member for St. Catharines will come to order. Member for Ottawa Centre will come to order. The next question, the member for Mississauga.
General, keeping children safe is one of our most important responsibilities. Every parent, every family, and every community deserves to know that their loved ones are protected from harm. The tragic story of the Christopher Stevensons reminds us of what is at stake when it comes to public safety. Christopher law has been vital to monitoring offenders, preventing crime, and protecting vulnerable people. Why does public safety matter so much more now? Speaker, can the Solicitor General please explain how our government's enhancement of Christopher law will lead to a better protection of our communities in Ontario?
Solicitor General.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank my friend, the member from Mississauga Lakeshore. Mr. Speaker, public safety is a question about leadership. And Ontarians trust Premier Ford to make sure that their inherent rights to live safely in their communities are fulfilled every day. Mr. Speaker, the Premier will do what it takes with legislation, with regulations, with the tone, and with the reassurance to a community that nothing is more important than our public safety. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, we came forward with strengthening Christopher's law just last week to make sure that what happened to the Stevensons family will never happen to another family. Protecting the most vulnerable is our unwavering priority. Mr. Speaker, when it comes to public safety, Premier Ford and our government will prioritize it when others won't and when others can't.
Supplementary question, back to the Mississauga Lakeshore.
Thank you, Speaker. When it comes to protecting our children, we must always stay ahead of those who would do them harm. Technology is changing quickly, and criminals are finding new ways to commit offences, including online. Christopher's law has always been about accountability and safety. The changes made by our government demonstrates real leadership in tackling these modern challenges by requiring offenders to report things like online identifying, social media accounts, and international travel plans. Our government is sending a clear message. Ontario will not tolerate any gap in public safety when it comes to children. Speaker, can the Solicitor General tell me why there is a video out there that the Liberal leader Bonnie Crombie says that she fears our great men and women of the Peel Police that protect our children and vulnerable Ontarians?
The Solicitor General.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Leadership means you have to lead. And when we saw most recently on social media that the Ontario Liberal leader is afraid of the police, and she said it when she was mayor of Mississauga, we can't trust her to lead Ontario and to keep us safe. But, Mr. Speaker, what I can tell you is public safety matters to Premier Ford and our government every day. It matters especially in the conversation at the borders now. The first trip I took, Mr. Speaker, was with the member of Sarnia-Lambton to see for myself our porous borders at the St. Clair River. Mr. Speaker, Premier Ford is speaking up when others won't. Mr. Speaker, we will leave no stone unturned in our message and reassuring President Trump that the border safety matters. We will continue to make the investments. We will continue to stand with our municipal police services, especially in the border communities. We will continue to...
Thank you. Thank you very much. The next question, the member for London West.
Thank you very much, Speaker. My question is to the Premier. Speaker, last week we learned that Ontarians will be paying $2.2 billion for this government's luxury spa scheme at Ontario Place. That's a cost of $400 for every single household in this province. Families in my community want to know why they are on the hook to help a private Austrian spa company when 120 28,000 Londoners can't find a family doctor, when St. Joe's Urgent Care has to stop accepting patients at noon because the waiting room is full, and when, as of this morning, there is a 7-hour-plus wait at the LHSC emergency department. Speaker, why are London households being forced to pay $400 each to subsidize a private luxury spa in downtown Toronto?
To respond, the Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much. To the hardworking people who live in London, what I would like to say is we are spending $50 billion to expand and build new hospitals across the province of Ontario so that wherever you live, Mr. Speaker, you can access that care. Whether it's Hamilton, whether it's Niagara, whether it's Toronto, whether it's Ottawa, rest assured Ontarians will have access to health care under the Premier's leadership. Thank you.
The supplementary question, the member for London North Centre.
Speaker, my question is to the Premier. Last week, we learned that every family in Ontario is on the hook for $400 to subsidize a foreign luxury spa. Wow. Instead of spending that money on health care, housing, schools, homelessness, and roads in London, he's spending it on 155 acres of prime land in Toronto to give away to an Austrian spa company. Wow. Sending $2.2 billion of our money to a struggling overseas company is ludicrous. The Premier's neglect of what are provincial responsibilities is why London's property taxes are going up a crushing 30%. Why does every household in London have to pay $400 to a broke Austrian spa for the Premier's elites in downtown Toronto?
Minister of Infrastructure.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, what we are doing is we're spending $190 billion to build this province. Mr. Speaker, we are spending a record amount for transit expansion. We are building highways. We are spending $50 billion expanding, building new hospitals across the province of Ontario. We're connecting people to broadband, particularly those that live in Northern Ontario. Mr. Speaker, we're spending $170 million for water infrastructure in order to build more homes in the province of Ontario. Now, Mr. Speaker, I have no problem speaking about our track record in the House for investing in infrastructure, but I cannot say the same. The leader of the official opposition was very clear today that if she were ever in government, she would build nothing.
Thank you very much. The next question, the member for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke.
My question is for the Minister of Public, Business Service Delivery and Procurement. Ontarians rely on important government services every day, and Service Ontario plays a key role in supporting families, businesses and individuals. From getting a health card or driver's license to registering life's key events, Service Ontario is there to help. These services are vital for accessing benefits, getting documents and settling estates. Sadly, under the previous Liberal government, Service Ontario was ignored and people paid the price. Under our government, Service Ontario has made real progress by becoming more efficient and accessible. We've expanded online services and reduced wait times. Our government is delivering modern, responsive services that work for all Ontarians. Speaker, can the Minister please share how our government's improvements to Service Ontario are making life easier for people all across the province?
Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the excellent member for Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke for that important and timely question about the essential work that Service Ontario does as the front face of our Ontario government. It is true that Service Ontario does issue, among other things, driver's licenses and health cards, but as our great Minister of Finance would say, there's more. In fact, vital event registrations of all types are foundational to so many aspects of our lives, from obtaining official identification documents to accessing government benefits and programs, and indeed, as the member noted, to settling estates. That's why I'm proud that our government has been working to modernize and expand access to Service Ontario's services and products, making it easier than ever for people across the province to register vital events and obtain documentation that they need. We've increased online service options, reduced wait times, and made it more convenient for people to connect with Service Ontario and their communities in many different ways. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. And the supplementary question.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you to the Minister for that answer. We all know the joy and excitement that comes with welcoming a new baby into the world. It's a special time for families, but it can also bring a lot of paperwork. From registering the birth to applying for benefits, the process can sometimes feel overwhelming for new parents. That's why it is so important to make these steps as easy as possible. Our government, through Service Ontario, has made great progress in helping parents with these vital tasks. By cutting red tape and introducing new programs, we're making it simpler for families to focus on what matters most, their new child. Speaker, can the minister please share more about how Service Ontario's new birth registration programs are helping families all across Ontario?
Public and Business Service Delivery and Procurement.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the member for that supplementary question. Now, we all know that the birth of a child is one of life's most joyous and profound moments. In fact, the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks and her husband welcomed their second child, baby Anastasia, earlier this year. And we look forward to the Minister of Long-Term Care and her husband welcoming their new baby in 2025. And in doing so, I believe that the Minister of Long-Term Care will be able to access the 5-in-1 bundle, as did the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, she informed me. This new 5-in-1 bundle, the newborn bundle, that Service Ontario has introduced is a shining example of how we are delivering on our commitment to accessibility and reducing red tape. It allows new parents to access five different administrative services and products in one streamlined online process. Registering the child's birth, applying for a birth certificate, obtaining a social insurance number, and accessing benefits, including the child health benefit and education.
Thank you very much. That concludes our question period for this morning.